Early week edition of College Sports Now, coming at you for the next hour and change. Roddy Jones, ESPN, fresh off the plane, back from Tempe. Got a little sun in the desert. You love to see it, hanging out with us. The Doc of Locks is also hanging out. Our man is feeling really good about things. I don't know if you know this, Roddy, but me and the Lock Doctor, we go head-to-head on Friday's show with Felder.
How's that going?
So the Doc is 6-0 against the spread. Through 2 weeks.
Hey, but he's giving out these prescriptions. The Doc is in.
Your boy is 5-1. Like, I feel very good about my selections.
Respectable.
But the Doc's sitting here undefeated, never lost. So combined 11-1 ATS the first 2 weeks. You really do love to see it.
Yes, you do.
Rodstradamus had a solid weekend as well.
Yes,
we will get to that. Nicole Auerbach is going to be stopping by in about 25 minutes or so. Nicole, longtime listeners of CSN may know she was a part of what we did here. She's now doing her thing with NBC Sports. Okay, Nicole's doing just fine, but we got a lot to talk to her about, including Notre Dame, including Michigan, and everything else going on in the Big Ten. Like, what's up with Oregon? Thought the Ducks were supposed to be really good. Like, power rated the third best team in America. Why are they struggling to beat teams from the state of Idaho? So we're going to talk about all that with Nicole. But Roddy, first and foremost, I want to know, how was the desert, man? Because you had a late game.
Late.
ASU taking on Mississippi State, and I watched. I'm not going to lie. I was up. But how was the desert, man? How was Tempe?
Hot, man. Hot. Like highs of 108 every day that I was out there. It was hot as hell. I stepped off the plane at 7 o'clock local time, and I thought, like, oh, man, they must have, like, the exhaust piping itself into the jet bridge. Why is it so ungodly hot in this jet bridge? And so I walked through the airport thinking, it can't be that bad. Get to the rental car place and get out, and I step into an oven. I look at my phone, and it's 99 degrees at 7:45, 8 o'clock. It's ridiculous. Game time on Saturday, it was in the mid-90s. It wasn't that hot. Felt cooler. That I believe, like when people are like, it's a dry heat. Not in the sun. Like in the sun, it's just hot. I don't care what kind of heat it is. It's hot. When the sun goes down, when you're in the shade, then you're like, okay, this is a little different, I guess. It's weird, though, dude. The one thing that I didn't quite realize is that, like, when they say it's a dry heat, it just means you don't sweat as much. Like, it's still hot.
Yes.
And I didn't really know what to expect from that. But when people say it's a dry heat, I'm like, okay, maybe it's cooler. It's just, no, you just don't cool yourself down because you don't sweat.
Yeah, it literally feels like when you open the oven to take something in or out of the oven, that's what Arizona feels like. You're just in an oven. And
the entire time.
Yeah.
No relief.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different, man. Yes, there's no humidity, but it is ungodly hot. Cam Scattaboo?
Boo.
If you didn't know, now you know.
Yeah. That dude was legit.
Guy looks like the white Roddy Jones
off.
out there, man. The vanilla gorilla. You kidding? I mean, he's a little heavier than you were playing weight, but like that guy.
He was a beast on
Mighty
Saturday,
Mouse, dude.
Their offensive line really dominated Mississippi State. Mississippi State's got some issues.
Yes, that's
off.
Putting it mildly, Roddy. Yes, they got issues, dog. What are you talking about? They're going to win like 3 games this year.
Yeah, they're not going to be great. Their offense will be better than it was the other day. They did have a big play called back for an OPI, offensive pass interference for the uninitiated.
Ask Tulane fans about OPI. They know all about it.
Dude, that was awful. That was a terrible call. But, yeah, Arizona State looked good. And, like, the question is, what can Arizona State do in the Big 12? I don't know. This will be a step up in competition. I think Texas State that they play this week. They're on the road at Texas State on Thursday.
That's on our list, Roddy. That is an intriguing game. Okay,
Texas State's probably better than Mississippi State. Not on the maybe on the lines of scrimmage. I don't know. Mississippi State's offensive line was bad at times, and then their defensive line was bad. So I don't know. I think Mississippi State's got some structural issues. Like I don't like the way they're playing defense.
It's a rebuild.
And then their defensive line isn't good. It's a rebuild. They've got some real offensive skill talent, though, like real life offensive skill talent.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, you've got a first time head coach in Jeff Lebby, and I had a chance to talk to him at SEC Media Days, and folks don't want to throw rebuild around when they're in the program, but yeah, clearly, like you had a lot of defections in the portal. You're bringing in a whole new system. You're not just going to roll it out there and do what you did at Oklahoma in year one as an OC.
And if you want to do it the right way, you're going to have to, like, this is basically year 0 for rebuilding the lines of scrimmage. You can import defensive linemen and be okay, but you're going to have to recruit and develop offensive linemen. So next year, I would consider year 1 for his offensive line. He'll get some recruits in. He'll get some younger transfer portal guys, if I had to guess, that he can grow. Like, look at this is a bad example right now. Sorry, Trip. But Mike Norvell sort of showed the blueprint of how to build an offensive line. Now, he hasn't done it to like an elite level, but he did it from like abject disaster to very good. So Jeff Levy's going to do that. Like that's the blueprint. It takes probably 4 years to get there.
Man, Florida State hadn't played a football game in 2 weeks. They're over here catching strays, getting ready to.
I was giving a compliment. That was a compliment.
Undefeated last week.
Don't poke the bear.
That's a compliment.
Don't poke the bear. We will discuss Florida State Memphis. Noles looking for their first dub of the season. We got a lot to get to, man. Week 2 was awesome. I mean, it delivered. And I will, like, I don't want to do the Michigan, Texas thing. I don't want to do the Notre Dame, Northern Illinois thing because Nicole's going to be joining us in 20 minutes, and she was on the desk at NBC on Saturday. So she's a Big Ten insider. We will get there. You know where we got to start the day, Roddy?
No.
Come on, man. Jackets got stung. Let's talk about it. Let's unpack this, dude.
Okay. Hold on. I may have to sneeze.
God bless you. Here's what I will say. I mean,
all right, we're good.
First of all, Syracuse, I know folks like nationally don't want to hear this, but that dome was alive on Saturday. And
why don't people nationally want to hear that?
Because they don't care. Like people don't care about what we just talked about for the first 5 minutes of the show, Mississippi State and Arizona State.
No, but that's why not what this podcast is about.
That's why we have you on this show, though, Roddy, because you're crisscrossing the country watching these games. Here's what I will say. Kyle McCord played the best game of his collegiate career. That dude threw for nearly 400 yards. I believe. Now, I'm Matt Park, Syracuse Radio Network did this on the broadcast. Syracuse had 0 300-yard passing games last year. They've already got 2 this year from Kyle McCord.
Did you see who
Tech
they were
couldn't keep up
at quarterback last year? I mean, it was awful.
Yeah,
but no, you're right. Like Tech fans are kind of freaking out a little bit, and I've told Tech fans over and over, like, bro, chill. This was I've said it since before the season started. This game was going to be tricky at best. And you were going to have a tough time at worst. And it was both. It was both tricky and you had a tough time. This game was well within the range of Georgia Tech's play. Like I watched the film yesterday. I am not all that concerned about Georgia Tech because they're not that much different than I thought they were. I thought you could go up to Central New York and get beat because of, number one, the dome. That place was always going to be rocking for that game because it's Fran Brown's first ACC game. There's excitement of Fran Brown. They're an exciting team to watch now. And like when Syracuse is an exciting team to watch, they show up. Yes. And it doesn't matter. The place seats, 40,000? But if you get 20 in there, it's loud as hell. It's one of the loudest environments you'll play in all year. Going to be an issue. The dome's a unique environment. Like that alone, going to be a bit of an issue. Maybe not a huge one. And typically talent can overcome it, but it's a big advantage when Syracuse is good. And then the last part of it, from the Tech perspective, like of course they can play better, but defensively Syracuse beat them. Like they didn't tackle particularly well. They missed a couple tackles, but they couldn't figure out a coverage that worked. Like they couldn't. They tried to play man-to-man and they turned guys loose. Then they tried to play man-to-man, didn't turn guys loose, but couldn't cover guys. Then they tried to blitz and play zone behind it. That didn't work. Then they just dropped and played cover 2. That didn't work. So like they at the end of the game, Tech was left like, what the hell do we do? What do we do defensively? And they actually had a stretch there where they were bringing edge pressures, and that kind of made Kyle McCord get the ball out of his hands quick, which eliminated Oronde Gadsden to some extent. But that didn't last. Like they started picking up the edge pressure, and then you can hit Gadsden, and it was just not good. So like this was always going to be tough for Georgia Tech. Phil Steele talks all the time about teams that aren't ready or that aren't usually in the top 25 jumping in the top 25. They were a ranked team on the road, and the 2 ranked teams with the smallest lines that went on the road last week both lost, Georgia Tech and Kansas. So it happens, man. It happens in college football. the Kyle McCord thing, though, to me is really interesting because he is an example of an established quarterback that has gone somewhere and been rehabbed. And I want to give a ton of credit to Fran Brown and that staff. I love that staff. Went up there, spent 2 days with them. They are awesome. Love Fran Brown. His belief in Kyle McCord has reinvigorated Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
Like at Ohio State, can you imagine what his existence was like at Ohio State?
Yeah, I felt sorry for the guy.
Everything he did, you're not Justin Fields, you're not CJ Stroud. You're not Justin Fields, you're not CJ Stroud. You're not Justin Fields, you're not CJ Stroud. And like, I'm not sure Ryan Day did a lot to promote the confidence, because at the end of the year, Kyle's like, hey man, like, we good, right? Like, this is my job, right? We good? Ryan Day's like,
no, I got 20 mil and I'm about to spend it.
So Kyle McCord's like, deuces. And Fran Brown's like, dude, we will send the football gods and Ryan Day champagne. We will shower them with the finest of libations for sending you here. Imagine what that does to a guy's confidence. And he's got talent around him. But like just walking in, and people in Central New York, from the second he walked in the door, loved him.
Yeah.
In a way that Ohio State fans were never going to. So the tired take is like, Ryan Day is this quarterback whisperer. The wired take is like, Ryan Day, do it with somebody who's not a finished product, bro. Like, you had 2 5-stars with CJ Stroud and Justin Fields, and you turn them into first-round picks. Like, take a 4-star and turn him into a superstar.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be that in Central New York.
Yeah. No, it wasn't just the on-the-field stuff for me. And yes, I watched every play on Saturday. All right? I'm not ashamed of that. I was locked in. McCord's doing things on the sidelines that he never did at Ohio State. Like, he's rah-rah guy. Like, he's got his helmet off. He's talking trash. Like, he's firing his dudes up. Yeah. He's
empowered. And when you're in an environment that empowers you, that's like, hey, man, you're the alpha. Like, go and be that. Like, he's blossoming. I absolutely love it, because it's rare that you get a guy in his last year that arrives and, like, surprises you with stuff. Because usually we've seen these guys for a long time. We haven't seen Kyle McCord relatively that long. Saw him for a season. But in the pressure cooker that is Ohio State, I'm just insanely happy for the guy, because I enjoyed my time with him. He was awesome to us at Media Day. He's awesome up at Syracuse. Like, he feels like he's having a good time, and I love that.
What's the ceiling for Cuse now? Like, do you have to reevaluate your expectations based on what you have seen through the first 2 weeks?
Syracuse was in a wait and see. They were in a wait and see pattern for me. So their ceiling, I thought at minimum they were a bowl team. I don't think they're an ACC championship team. I was pulling out the schedule. But the rest of their schedule is at ACC schedule. They get Stanford on Friday, a week from this Friday.
That's a dub.
Yeah. Then they go to NC State in conference. That's a dub.
I mean,
bro, NC State looks terrible right now.
Let's save it. Just set that aside for like 90 seconds. We'll get there.
Okay. At Pitt, Virginia Tech at home, at Boston College, at Cal, Miami.
That's doable.
I mean, 6-2 in the league is well within the realm of possibility. They could be 7-1. I'm not going to give them the Miami win. And they won't be undefeated when they get to Miami. But if you were to ask me individually each of those games that I just laid out, who should win that game, Syracuse is the answer to all of them. They won't be undefeated because they will trip up somewhere. It's college football. It happens. But if they're 10-1 going into Miami, which they probably won't be, but if they're 10-1, I would not be shocked, because the schedule sets up pretty well.
Yeah, and the McCord to Gadsden connection is lethal. Like, if Gadsden can stay healthy, I think he missed a couple games last year, right, Roddy? I mean, he was banged
up.
The
entire season. He played a couple games last year.
So
he had a Liz Frank.
That dude's a problem.
He's a pro. He's a pro.
He's listed as a tight end, but I mean, he's unguardable. Like, that guy's just a freak. So
and here's the thing: they've actually, I say he's not a tight end. He's got receiver skills, and they split him out a bunch. But he did a really good job in their run game on Saturday. A very willing blocker. He's not their primary edge blocker, but like, all you have to do is be willing and get in the way, and he was doing that. So I was impressed by his play.
Let's keep it rolling, man. Like, I think everybody saw Tennessee and NC State folks feel a little bit more comfortable about pronouncing Nico Iamaleava.
Oh man,
Nico
You were so-
Iamaleava.
I saw it in your eyes too. Like you
Nico
were really,
Iamaleava.
No.
Nico. hang on.
Iamaleava.
Iamaleava. I got my card, man. I got my
Yeah,
card.
get the card. Get the card. You had the V in the wrong place, which is
Thank
weird
you.
because usually people do the vowels in the wrong.
Thank you. Where's my card?
Iamaleava.
Thank you.
Iamaleava.
People feel very good about that. People feel really not good about what Dave Doran and those guys rolled out. Are you hitting the panic button based on what you saw?
I am not hitting the panic button yet, but I don't think there's any reason to believe in this team yet based on their first 2 games, which is there's a slight difference there. Like I think they still have the possibility to be good, but what have we seen that lets us know that they are good? That's kind of my thing. So
We had one quarter against the Catamounts of Western Carolina.
but the wrong quarter. Like had it been the first quarter, we'd have been excited. It was the fourth quarter where they were losing. And like even if you play poorly against Western Carolina, you should not go into the fourth quarter losing. This is the Notre Dame thing. And I know we're not doing the Notre Dame thing yet. But like NC State against Western Carolina, that is a game you play poorly and you're winning the whole time. Notre Dame against Northern Illinois, you have to find a way to win that game. You're at home, you play poorly, is what it is. Shit happens. You got to win it. Like NC State has had 3 quarters against Western Carolina where they look like a disaster, and then 4 quarters against Tennessee where they were completely outclassed. And I'm willing to put this in the Georgia Clemson category where Tennessee is much better than NC State. I think we knew that coming in, but it was confirmed that the gap is greater than we thought. But NC State didn't do much in the game that makes you think this is a team that's close.
Right.
So you're elevating, like, to get NC State to reconcile the expectations for NC State right now, which should be 8-9 wins, definitely a bowl game, but like 8-9 wins is probably the expectation. In order to reconcile that with like the gap between them and Tennessee, it elevates Tennessee to like 11-1 and in the college football playoff without a doubt, competing for the SEC championship. And I'm not ready to go there on Tennessee. So I think I have to downgrade NC State just a little bit, but I'm still willing to hold out hope that they figure it out. But Grayson McCall hasn't inspired confidence. That offensive line hasn't inspired confidence. And I'm not just talking about Tennessee. Tennessee's defensive line is very good. But Western Carolina, the offensive line didn't inspire confidence. The defense is what it is against Tennessee. That defense is tough to play against Tennessee. Doesn't allow you to get it. The space doesn't allow you to do a lot of the stuff on the interior that makes it tricky. So, and they don't have the athletes. So I'm a little more willing to give them some grace there. But Nico didn't even play. Like, everyone's come out of this like, oh, Nico's the man. He had like 200 yards passing. Like, it was the team. And he threw 2 picks. One of them a pick 6. Like, he could play a lot better. He played good. He could play a lot better. And that makes Tennessee scary.
Yeah, I don't think any NC State fan, even the most optimistic, thought that there would be a 41-point margin between them.
And it was all of 41 points. Like, that was not a misleading score line.
Yeah. No, that was
it's not Alabama, South Florida, where you're like, damn, Alabama blew them out. Like, actually,
right.
Here's how the game went. No, the Tennessee NC State was every bit of 41 points.
Oh, by the way, NC State, they get Louisiana Tech this weekend, but you know where their next ACC game is?
It's out west, isn't it?
It's at Clemson.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Like, this is a situation where you're like, I mean, have we hit bottom yet? I mean, because the Clemson game, I know NC State has handled their business in Raleigh a few times, but they haven't won in Death Valley in like 20 years, and that's going to be a challenge for obvious reasons. Clemson went medieval on App State, and that's a very good App State team. Like, I will grant you it's the get-right game that Clemson needed, but come on, guys, 35-0 in the first quarter. Like, statement stuff when they needed it. So maybe we pump the brakes on, the sky is falling in the upstate talk. What do you think?
Yeah, I was never there. I thought the criticisms of the offense were fair. But the Dabo portal thing, that was never a thing that I was.
It's lazy. It's there. It's lazy. I get it, but it was good to see those guys bounce back and not just win, but like flex.
Emphatically win,
yes.
and do it in a way offensively that made you think like, okay, maybe Georgia is that good.
Okay,
And-
I'm back is what people were feeling. Yeah.
Or I'm here. Like
Right.
Clemson's offense hasn't arrived since Garrett Riley has been around. So it gives you hope that they can string it together. And look, that NC State Clemson game looks a lot different in 2 weeks than it did a week ago.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. What else? We got Nicole coming by in about 10 minutes, Roddy. What else from week 2? I know you've been bouncing all over Sirius XM on Monday. I got you fresh, rejuvenated, sprightly on a Tuesday morning. So hit me with some takes, man.
Yeah, so the Oregon thing is interesting to me because Oregon people aren't freaking out yet, but Dylan Gabriel has sort of been the thing that people are pointing to the most is like if you eliminate all the mistakes, they got a ton of penalties going on right now, which I would imagine they get that figured out. The quarterback play has not been awesome for Oregon. So you would think Dylan Gabriel figures it out, but we'll see. The Cam Rising injury, slightly concerning out at Utah. He should be okay, right? I mean, they played nobody this week, so even if he doesn't play this week,
I have not gotten any kind of status update on one Cam Rising. Don't know.
Yeah.
The doctor is on it.
Coming out, like I think the report was that it was a hand something and he should be okay, but I don't know. Houston's bad. Houston's a bad football team. That's the worst team in the Big 12. Oklahoma? What are we doing here, bro?
Concerning.
What? And Jackson Arnold. What are we doing? What's going on there? Do you have answers to that? Like, what's happening?
I know the final score was lopsided, but I wasn't
It was
overly
not
impressed.
lopsided. 16
No.
to 12.
Hang on. I'm talking about when they blew out Temple week 1. I was watching that offense against Temple, and I was like, yeah, Temple is clearly like borderline. Like Temple should be in the FCS. Like they're not good at football. They don't care. They're not interested. They play at the Vet. There's like 500 people, including the band that goes to those games. Like Temple's in a bad place. But even then, I was like, I don't know if this stuff is gonna work. Dude, they got Tennessee coming to town for their first SEC game. Oklahoma. Yeah. Heupel comes home. Yeah, Oklahoma's a problem. The thing with me on Oregon, by the way, Roddy, is like, I hear you on Dylan Gabriel. This was supposed to be like a line of scrimmage team. Like these guys were supposed to be bullies on both lines. Genty did his thing again.
Did.
Like that guy's the September Heisman winner. He's got 9 rushing touchdowns. He had 8 yards per carry against the Ducks at Autzen. Like Oregon's supposed to be this team that, like, again, I'm not a handicapper at the level of like a Phil Steele or people that do this professionally or the Lock Doctor, obviously, who's 6-0 to start the season. But like Oregon's like a power ratings darling. They're like the 3rd or 4th best team in the country according to like power rankings. It's like Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, or Texas, Oregon. Like they're supposed to be next level good. Haven't seen it. They had 2 special teams touchdowns to beat Boise State at home.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. That's a problem.
The Oregon thing is concerning. What's their they can't open Big Ten that far from now because they played 9 conference games.
They're at Oregon State Saturday.
Yeah, which they'll win that game. Oregon State sucks.
Okay, but it's still a rivalry game.
You're right, and they struggled with Idaho and Boise. Although that's not a team from Idaho. Idaho's a weird place, man. Like
Boise is in Idaho.
I know, wonderful place, Idaho. But like the whole there's some place in Idaho where it gets a little squirrely. I love the state of Idaho.
How so? How does it get squirrely?
You know what I'm talking about.
I don't. I don't.
Yeah, you do.
Idaho's got resorts in Coeur d'Alene, and then you
don't want to go to Coeur d'Alene.
I've never been. It looks.
Yeah, it's one of them places that got them people that like think like when the government war happens, like that's what them people are.
That
and
Coeur
they don't really
d'Alene's going to be in a good place, is what you're saying? That a lot of doomsday preppers.
They will think they're in a good place. Just Google some of the stuff that's going on.
Okay, I'm on it.
Google what happened to the women's basketball team that had to stay in Coeur d'Alene that was playing in Spokane.
That I am aware of. Yes, that I am aware of.
Idaho.
Got it.
Anyway,
how do you spell that?
It's French.
Yeah, just type it in and see what happens.
Cour.
Yeah, and then there's an apostrophe after the D.
Yeah, Delane. Delan.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, very. Is that a French
got
accent?
it.
I speak
Yeah,
French,
go-
as you
go
know.
ahead.
I summer in Canada. I mean, I've been known to speak a little Francais.
I've been
Mon
up to
frere.
McCall, Idaho. Beautiful, like gorgeous part of the country. But like any further north, and I'm,
Do you have a
you boys
passport,
can-
Roddy? Are you ready to go? Like, if you need to blast out of the country, are you ready?
My passport actually just expired, so no, I'm not.
So no, you need to get on that, man.
Why?
It's nice to have. I think it's just good to have. Just in
I've had my
case.
passport for 10 years, obviously,
Yes.
because it expires.
Yes.
I've used it one time. This is not something that like it's a nice to have for me. Like,
What if
I'm
Disney's
not
like?
Steven
What if
Fritzl.
Disney? Hey, what if Disney's like? We're ready to send Roddy to Dublin, or we're ready to send Roddy to one of these next games across the pond. You need to be ready, son.
They give you a lot of heads up for that.
Do they?
When that
Okay.
happens, yes, because they know that people don't have passports. taken
Trip, do you
care
have a
of.
valid passport? Yes or no?
No. Never.
Guys, what are we doing
never
here? What about a real ID? What
A
about a
real
real
ID?
ID?
Like, yeah, I've got a
Got a
driver's
license.
license.
That's not what I mean, man. We got to have these real IDs in the next like 6 months, or we're not going to be
Oh,
able
like
to travel.
on your phone?
No, I'm talking about like TSA, like real IDs. That's a thing in North Carolina. I think it's a thing in Georgia too, man. You
So
might want to.
but
don't think
a
so.
real ID, I don't think a real ID is like a type of ID. I think it's just like what they're calling the umbrella term for all of the valid IDs, right?
That's incorrect. No, that's incorrect. You have to
Okay.
get a real ID is supposed to be like some sort of a government ID. I have been wrong on this show many, many times. I'm almost positive. Like my wife has been wearing me out about going to the DMV to get a real ID.
In Georgia, all licenses issued after 2012 are real ID compliant. Real ID is a catch-all. It's not a thing.
That's not the case where we are. I'm
Okay, I'm gonna Google North Carolina.
North Carolina real ID. I'm telling you, man. Like, if I'm wrong, please. I want to be wrong. I don't want to have to go to the DMV on a Wednesday and like get this, but I'm pretty sure that I do.
Where's
can
Roddy
only
live?
be
Where do you live,
issued-
Roddy?
Georgia. It can only be issued. It's a driver's license, dude. What are you
I
talking
have
about?
a driver's license, but apparently you need like a new one.
The real ID. The NC Real ID is a Real ID Act compliant driver's license. What are you talking? It just has a
Hey,
star
se-
on the
hey,
driver's license.
Hey,
We've
send me
been here
that
since
link.
We've been here since 2012,
Hey,
bro.
Send me that link so I can send it to wifey, so I don't have to go to the DMV.
As long as your thing has a. Let me see your driver's license. Well, don't let me see it on here.
I'm not going to show you my driver's license right now. I'll just send me that link so I don't have to go to the
It's in
DMV.
the chat. It's in the chat.
Let's bring in our friend Nicole Auerbach, who does a
Who
great job.
definitely has a
She does a
passport and
great
real
job
ID.
with NBC Sports. She was at the desk on Saturday night when the college football world was
Crushing it.
crumbling all around her. Nicole, good morning. Thank you for getting up with us. Great to see you. How are things?
Things are great. I would like to tell you that you should update your license, and they
See?
told us that
That's
year
just-
by year.
Look
They
at you,
all-
Steven, not me.
I'm saying I have it because I was one of those people, I guess, sheep who thought that they were actually going to change this years ago, because they would be like, oh, you have to do this by next September. You have to do that. And then they just kept moving the goalposts. But I got it done. So I have a real ID, and I think you should join me.
Okay. See?
Steven might have one. He doesn't actually know what it was. He didn't.
I have been told that that's something in our state of North Carolina that is coming, and like if it doesn't come,
That's what they always tell you. That's what I'm saying. They've been saying this for like 10 years, and I believed them.
Yeah.
You don't have to be that person, but you can also get it. It has just like a little star or something on it. Like that's
Yeah.
the only difference. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
I need the star. All right. So
Yeah.
Nicole, you and I are the only ones with passports on this chat. Also, we got to
What?
work on that with
Mine
Roddy.
expired like a month ago.
Yeah,
It's-
that's
and I
Roddy, but
didn't-
what if you have an opportunity to go to the Bahamas Bowl or something? That's
Yes.
Do you need an ID to go? I mean, a passport to go to the Bahamas Bowl? Is that
the
true? I
Bahamas
don't
are
know.
a different country.
Of
Yes,
course you do.
need a passport.
But,
What are
like,
you
it's got that
talking
agreement
about?
with like Puerto Rico. Can I like fly to Puerto Rico
No.
legally and then get a boat? Okay. I'm
Nope.
just wondering.
Nope.
Get a
That sounds
boat?
that sounds incredibly
asking.
illegal. You
Yeah,
can't
that-
break into other countries without a passport,
I mean,
even by boat.
that's probably true. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hey-
This is Joey Galloway's bowl game anyway.
I'm just saying, like, what if, just you need to be prepared in case
Yeah,
the Bahamas
you don't need
Bowl
to get
just gets
ready if you
thrown
stay
at
ready.
you.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
Thank you, Hartzell.
That's
You're
that's
welcome.
the best. That's the best argument for this I've heard.
Hey,
so.
Nicole, we have saved the Notre Dame and Michigan talk for you because,
great.
as an NBC sports gal, like we want to go straight to the source here. Like, let's start in South Bend. Like, what happened? Like, how? Like, it's Tuesday morning as we tape this, so things have kind of settled down a little bit. But, like, what happened? How does that go down against Northern Illinois? Like, give the Huskies their flowers. Like, that's a very well coached team. That's a good team. But that can't happen if you're Notre Dame ever at home.
Right. So I think the big picture here is, I forget who said this to us, Roddy, but you want to make the boring games boring, and that has not been the case for Marcus Freeman. And the Marshall game, you're like, all right, whatever, first time head coach, first couple games as the head coach. But now you're in year 3, you're not supposed to be doing this, and you are supposed to take care of business against the teams you're supposed to beat. Brian Kelly did this. He couldn't always win the big games. Marcus Freeman's won some big games, but like this is completely avoidable. It's a huge letdown. Like you cannot be a program that thinks you can just beat somebody else because of your helmet. And the other teams that are coming in, it's their Super Bowl. It's a huge game for them. And they're going to believe that they have a chance to win the game, especially now that Notre Dame has lost a few of these, right? Like anyone coming in to play them is going to be like, oh, we can catch them. They overlook people. They do this, like it's a thing now. But like from a more of a football standpoint, what happens here is you still have a very disjointed offense. Riley Leonard has not done much at all since getting there from Duke. They're one of the few teams in the country that hasn't thrown a touchdown pass through 2 games. Offensive line started the season 6 combined career starts. So you knew there were going to be some work in progress there, but that's becoming a problem. I think they should be playing through Jeremiah Love, the running back. I think he's the best player they've got. I don't think they're using him as much as they should. The defense gave up more than we were used to seeing based on what they did against A&M. There were just like a lot of things that went wrong. But, Riley Leonard not living up to or really even being close to expectations, I think has been the most glaring problem because certainly the offense is not doing enough. If you hold a team to 14 or 16 points, you should be fine. You should be winning games. And, you have Riley Leonard who got banged up. He landed on his shoulder late in the first half, and definitely looked like that was, a problem and some pain. But through 2 games, he's also he hasn't gone through his progressions. He's decided to run. He's scrambled. He's kind of bailed on certain situations. Maybe again, young offensive line, new players, new pieces, your transfer. There's just a lot that's not working offensively. And I think that's the biggest problem so far is Riley Leonard, how disjointed it is. They're not making a quarterback change, but this stuff has got to get better because the defense, even though there were some they gave up some big plays we didn't see a week before, that's still well enough to win the game. They played well enough to win the game, and the offense is not delivering.
Yeah. And Nicole, Pete Sampson said yesterday something that we talked a little bit about in the offseason, but I don't think it's been talked about enough. Like Riley Leonard missed basically the entire offseason with the new offense at Notre Dame because of his injury that he came over with at Duke. And it looks like a guy who, as Pete said, is going through his spring now during real games, which is not good. We had this discussion a little bit yesterday, but obviously they're still alive for the college football playoff. If they win out, they probably make it. I don't think that should be the case. I think there should be an eliminator. But what are your expectations? Do you expect this team to get it right and to be in the hunt?
So first of all, I would say that despite the fact that they're still technically alive, because yes, I mean, you could overcome a September loss. You get better, et cetera, et cetera. Like a 1-loss Notre Dame is going to be certainly in the playoff mix and have a really good chance, no matter what the schedule looks like. The system's just not set up to leave out a 1-loss Notre Dame, even if this is the loss. But I still feel like everyone acted like the sky was falling. There was still a meltdown. It's not like the playoff ruined that part. There were still just absolute message board meltdowns and existential crises for Irish fans. I don't know. I don't trust that the offense is going to get a lot better, right? We have to see it. There's no proof of concept yet. And this immediately makes you think about last year. So much hype and excitement around Sam Hartman coming in because of all he had done at Wake. And listen, he was a great fit. Everyone loved him at Notre Dame, but did he do what you thought he was going to do. Like he didn't, right? He was a little bit underwhelming. So you have 2 transfer quarterbacks now in a row that are not lighting the world on fire. They're not the difference maker. They are not elevating a Notre Dame offense to a totally different level yet, at least, right? But I think Riley Leonard's really good. I think he's really tough. I think he can be a great leader for this team, but it does feel really disjointed. And you're walking into a situation with a young, inexperienced offensive line. You don't have like a clear number 1 receiver. It's receiver by committee. There's just a lot of things they need to figure out about who they want to be as an offense, what they want their identity to be. And you just don't have a ton of time. I get that they've got a bunch of opponents that they should beat, right? But we said that last week. Like I thought last week would be an opportunity for the offense to figure some things out, to gel, to get a passing game going, to stretch the field vertically, to open up some things in the run game. That didn't happen. So until we see it, or at least see some steps towards that, it's hard to believe that they could win out, like that they could be in position to make the college football playoff. Florida State doesn't look all that daunting on their schedule. You still got Louisville in there. USC looks improved. They can actually tackle. They can play defense now. So that's the end of the year. But again, like they're on paper, there's plenty of time for them to grow up, figure these things out. But until I see it, I'm not going to like assume that that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's talk Michigan, because I'm not a Michigan fan. I'm not a Michigan alum, but I'm kind of at peace with what I saw on Saturday, Nicole. Like they're just not as good as they were last year, and that's okay. They lost 13 guys to the NFL. Texas went in, did their thing. Like that had to have been expected on some level if you're a reasonable Michigan fan, right? What you saw on Saturday?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I did not expect them to win the game. If I were a betting woman, I would have taken Texas to cover. Like it was 7.5 points or something. Like it just felt low.
And it crashed. I mean, that thing on Saturday, money was pouring in on Michigan.
That was all odd, because I just think you're giving way too much credit to like playing at the big house. But listen, like I think everyone expected a step back. I don't think they thought like, hey, like a total rebuild. You still got incredible talent on this roster. But I mean, the question had been coming into the season, like, could they be a borderline playoff team? Like the schedule's brutal. They're replacing so much. To me, it's like teetering on the edge of like one of the last teams to make the playoff and in that grouping of teams that are just out. I think you have to recalibrate that after seeing this, because I thought that, despite the step backs, you would still have a great defense at all levels. They're not that deep, right? So you have a bunch of great individual defensive players, but it's not like the same just like suffocating defense as last year. And then like they could just like roll in guys because they were so deep. So that's not there. And if the defense is going to have to be on the field all the time because the offense can't sustain drives, then you also are going to wear those guys out. So I think the questions about, okay, this offensive line is definitely taking a step back, replacing everyone. You have running backs and receivers who, played a little bit, but it's very different than having a true number 1 guy in Roman Wilson. Very different than having Blake Corum, who's just like tough as nails and so used to just like making something, moving the pile forward. And then, obviously the quarterback position. And this is the question that I think is really interesting about, hey, like, were they unprepared for this season at the quarterback position? Should they have gone into the portal, try to get somebody, even though their season went so late, they probably only could have gotten someone in the spring portal, which I don't know that there would have been anyone available that would have been better. But, clearly like there were a lot of people in a camp of, hey, it's going to be Alex Orji. And then he wasn't good enough to win the job. So how does that rework what you were thinking this offense could and would look like? You've also had a ton of turnover on the coaching staff, right? So everyone on the offensive side kind of slid up a position. But those are big positions, big shoes that they're all filling and stepping up to. The defensive staff, most of them went to the Chargers with Harbaugh. All of that happened really late in the offseason. So to answer your overall question, like, yes, thought there would be a drop off, but I also had thought that like they could run the ball and play defense and that would keep them in games. And I think you saw against Texas, which is in that category now, I think we consider them of, with Georgia, with Ohio State, like these are the national title contender teams. Michigan can't hang, right? Because they can't run the ball and play defense well enough to stay in that game because you're going 3 and out. You're not sustaining drives. You're not going to be able to keep up in those games. So we'll see against, maybe that tier below that. But I thought that would give them time to figure out the passing game. But it's clear that, they're just not going to be as dominant at the line of scrimmage both ways as we thought they were, which I thought was going to buy them some time.
Stephen and I were talking about Oregon a little bit, and I kind of mentioned what Jeff Schwartz told us yesterday, that hey, Dylan Gabriel hasn't been awesome, and then he mentioned hey, also, isn't this supposed to be a line of scrimmage team? Why is Ashton Jeanty running all over them? Which, very fair. How confident are you in Oregon going to Corvallis this week?
Well, okay, so it's a tough time to have an in-state rivalry game against a team that believes you killed their conference, right? Like that. And so you've got the Apple Cup and you've got the Civil War. And it's weird, first of all, that these games are September now, which we all know why, conference scheduling, whatever. But again, Oregon should be fine. Oregon is talented. They're still figuring out, again, the pieces. You bring in a transfer quarterback, even with someone as experienced as Gabriel, it felt a little disjointed, right? Against Boise, the way the offense was looking. But yeah, that is the big concern. Having given up more sacks through 2 games than all of last year, different personnel, I get it. But that's a concern. That was not supposed to be something that we're talking about here in mid-September. That was, hey, I'd like to see how the offensive line looks, but then you feel good about it. Not the case through 2 games. And again, Boise, they're the team I picked to get the group of 5 spot in the playoff. I think they're very good. I think Ashton Jeanty hopefully stays in the Heisman mix the entire season. I would love that for him. But yeah, it looked easy. And that's a concern. I think you have to figure that out. I feel like Oregon's issues seem fixable in season. Michigan's feel like more of a personnel issue that you're not going to be able to address until the off season. So I still have some faith in Oregon, but they were a team I picked to win the national championship in the preseason. And right now
still alive. You're still alive.
They're definitely still alive, but I would say that they're not in my mind in that top tier yet. They have to play their way into proving that they are in that group. And they haven't done that yet.
I'm here for a West Coast national champion. That would be awesome.
Yes, you and your West Coast biased all the time.
Well, correct. Mm-hmm. Yes, I love West Coast football. So here's the thing, Nicole. We've seen 2 weeks, 8 quarters. Let's overreact. Let's get a little reckless here. Give me your Big Ten sleeper. All right, we know about Ohio State. We know about Penn State. Can I interest you in Nebraska? Can I interest you in Rutgers? Come on, let's go.
Okay, first of all, you know how to speak to my heart. Rutgers, New Jersey. Love it. Kyle Monangai, best player who's maybe still flying too far under the radar. Absolutely. Yeah. I think they're good. I think Rutgers is building. They're
Roddy, been trying to tell you about Rutgers for years.
They are.
The thing is, it's been too many years.
We're coming.
No, Roddy, this is come on. The defense and running the ball. This is Chiano ball. They will.
Been saying this since 2017. Watch out for Rutgers.
We're here.
Well, watch out for them now. I think they can finish in the top half of the league. I'm all in on Nebraska.
All in.
Well, no. I'm very in on Nebraska. But have you looked at this schedule? They're going to be bowl eligible in mid-October.
Let's go.
They could be 7-0 heading into Ohio State. Do you know how the hype train will be around Nebraska at that point? Crazy levels. So again, I think that they are also building in a really sustainable way. We've all seen and talked about Matt Rule rebuilds at Temple and then Baylor. He takes a big jump in year 2. The defense took a big jump last year. Offense clearly taking a big jump now. They're putting Dylan Raiola in a really good position to succeed. The way that they have supported him, put pieces around him that have more experience, but he's just a really serious, studious guy. He doesn't come across as a freshman at all. So I just like it. I like all of it. But I do think that there's still going to be a step between what they're doing this year to become bowl eligible and what kind of bowl they could land and legitimately contending in the Big Ten. But this is super solid. They're not skipping any steps. So I'm all in on Nebraska as just a team to watch, to be excited about, the team that could be back, a coach that could be in the coach of the year race, because again, I think they're going to do great things this year. But I don't think they're going to be in the CFP mix or contending for a Big Ten title, but I think they qualify as a dark horse. And again, looking at the schedule and what we know about Matt Rule, I actually saw a lot of that coming the preseason. But now I think beating Colorado, avenging that loss from last year, kind of just showing hey, we are for real. And by the way, we don't turn the ball over every couple of snaps like we've done for the last few years. Like that's huge. Like they're going to be for real, and they are going to continue to grow because we've seen this from Matt Rule before.
Yeah, and in terms of the schedule, you mentioned it, like they could be undefeated going into Ohio State in late October. That Rutgers game, but they get Rutgers at home. That could be tricky. But if you get
Look
past,
at you giving Rutgers respect.
I know.
There.
I love Rutgers as long as Steven's not trying to sell me on them. But after Ohio State, like they get USC and then they got Wisconsin and Iowa. Like, I mean, if you told me that they're in the CFP mix, I am not doubting it.
I don't know. I don't want to put that on them, guys. We're trying just to get them back to bowl eligibility.
We're being recklessness.
But I will say, like, imagine if you're a program that has just been like snake bitten, found all these like really, really painful ways to lose for like what 6, 8, 7, 8 years now. And you get to be bowl eligible in October. So you don't have to like spend November at the 5-win plateau like last year. Just being like, is this going to be it? Can they do it this week? Oh my gosh, they lost to Michigan State. How did that happen? They're not going to be bowl eligible. Like that will all be off their shoulders. So, I mean, hey, who knows? Who knows?
Nicole, this is a massive league now, right? With 18 teams. Like Roddy and I were joking about it in the preseason. Like it's gigantic.
Someone's going to finish 18th.
Who's going to finish 18th? Who is that team?
Man, no one's asked me that at all. I will tell you, doing a preview for these conferences takes forever. Like, you know, it's I was doing something for NBC. It was just like one question for each team, and you're like, okay, like I feel like I'm making some progress, and you're like, oh no, I am a third of the way through this entire conference. All right, let's think. Who would you guys put at the bottom? I mean,
UCLA.
UCLA. I was just going to say
is probably the one.
What we've seen from them is not encouraging.
They host Indiana this weekend. They're an underdog at home. There's going to be
our game, NBC.
15,000 people there. I mean, it's going to be no overhead shots, Nicole. Just tell the blimp. Just zoom in.
So here's the thing, though. Of those two fan bases, who's more excited? I feel like Indiana fans are
Indiana
in.
fans are
stoked.
Yes,
like,
they're
they
very excited.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and then Illinois just had a big win over Kansas.
Yeah.
You know, Wisconsin's got some questions. They're not going to be last in the league, but like they got some stuff they need to prove in year 2, and they got Alabama coming to town this week. That one's going to be really challenging for them, but like they got to figure out who they want to be offensively. Maryland losing to Michigan State was significant, right? As you're looking at some of those teams that are jockeying for positioning against each other. Like that's a huge win for Michigan State in year 1, where I thought they were going to be kind of towards the bottom just based on the rebuild and everything they've got. They've got like 17 and 18-year-old players that are like 2 of their best players on the entire roster. So you got to feel like great about that program. Who am I forgetting? Oh, Minnesota's going to be
Minnesota. Northwestern.
I think
I don't think they'll be at the bottom.
I don't think they'll be at the bottom, but and they got the coolest home field.
That is an awesome environment. The one criticism I have for that is they should have flipped it. Like they've got the camera angle is of the scoreboard, which I don't think faces the lake, does it?
So that was the one criticism I've seen, like from our pals like Dan Rubenstein and guys who've gone, Matt Brown, people who've gone to games, is it's hard to see the like down and distance and like the clock stuff, because I do think that is not where you would naturally look. I think it's on the other side. Like it's facing into the field, but the other side of the field.
So I would have flipped so you could have the camera angle getting the field and then the lake out in the distance. Like that's my one criticism. It's awesome though.
It is so cool. I saw a great tweet that was like, Northwestern fans, getting like an $800 million gift, but they'd rather play with the box. And I was like, yes.
Yes, it's exactly it.
So hang on, Nicole, you live in the Chicago area still, right?
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I apologize. This is an ignorant question.
You're going to go lake effects, aren't you?
Is that one of the lakes that freezes though? Like, isn't that thing going to turn a sheet of ice at some point?
It doesn't freeze that close to like the shore.
Okay.
And it wouldn't have freeze in football season. That'd be like
they're not playing. They're not playing past mid-October out there. So they're playing a couple games at like Soldier Field and other places.
Okay.
Wrigley.
All right. See, it's all ignorant question, but I had to ask because
No, I mean, like here, Hartzell, I will send you photos like in the winter. I'll go for a walk on the lake and show you. It's not like all like further out, sure, but like it's not frozen by like the.
I've seen those cars that are just covered in ice. I figured that was going to be their football stadium in a couple months.
have you been somewhere that it snows? Like, have you been in cold
Not
weather
very
in your
often.
life? Okay, all
Not-
right.
Southern
not-
It's like
not very
assuming.
often.
Just- yeah.
Southeastern.
Spent the
bias
summer
there.
in Canada, so it's different.
How
out
many
there.
summer.
times are you going to mention that you've been to Canada in this episode alone? I mean, just
gorgeous.
flex it on everybody.
It's
Okay,
just a
Roddy.
gorgeous
It's just all
place.
these are all reminders. You need to get your passport.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a passport. I'm not afraid to use it. Nicole, before we let you go, the Doc of Locks has a question before we let you go.
Yeah, Nicole, I've been helping with CSN for the last couple of years here, and Hartzell mentioned that kind of back when it started, you were on the show a little bit. You used it
A lot of
as a
bit.
springboard.
It's one of the
You're
OGs.
now on NBC, big time, serious, Big Ten insider. What happened to Hartzell? Like, why is he still here? Kind of like a failure to launch type situation.
That's a great question.
Great question. Well, I don't think he could be a Big Ten insider when he thinks that the entire Midwest is frozen at all times. So I think that was definitely like for crossing that one off the list. I would also say that I think that Hartzell likes his people. He wants to hang out with Roddy, and he wants to talk about plants, like in gardening. I just think that there is a great joy in that, and the flexibility to launch those types of things. Plus,
How are your houseplants looking, by the way?
I don't have any because we went through this. In COVID, I got a couple. First time I traveled, immediately died, and I gave up. It was not good. But my point is that I think Hartzell has found his own niche. Why can I never say that word?
Yep.
Niche.
It
Niche.
fits.
Niche.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, can you tell me what it is,
I
Roddy?
think it's niche.
Niche?
What?
Niche.
You went niche?
Niche?
No.
See, okay, nobody.
Be classy, Steven. It's niche.
I don't think that's how it's pronounced. That's how it's spelled, but that's not how it's pronounced. It's
All right. Well,
niche.
see, this is what I'm saying. Like, he knows his niche and has a lot of fun with it. Plus, he thinks that half of the country is frozen. So I think that's part of it.
Not half, just a third.
Just a third.
Just that middle part.
But now the Big Ten includes, California. So now it's more, it's bigger.
They don't
But
have. They got
Hartzell-
landslides to worry about, not ice. They got their own issues out
Yeah,
west.
and then Hartzell's traveling to Canada, and he's just a busy guy. He's got a lot of interests, a lot of hobbies, and I love that for him. I love that that's his path.
According to Merriam-Webster, niche, and niche are all acceptable pronunciations.
Wow,
No
I
one
did
says
not-
niche. No one says
Niche.
that.
It's
That's
an
not-
acceptable
It's like
pronunciation. What do you
knish.
want from me?
like
No.
a knish.
If you guys go on satellite radio and start saying niche, you're gonna get canceled. You
I'm
can't.
telling you, it's an acceptable pronunciation according to the dictionary.
All right,
Yeah, but
Very
nobody
good.
trusts the dictionary.
It's true. That's a good point.
Nicole, you're doing a great job with NBC. I enjoyed watching it on Saturday, even though your flagship football teams took L's on that network. It was good.
Ohio
It was good
State's-
stuff.
Ohio State's one of the flagships too.
Yeah,
Well,
Michigan's not the only, it's the whole conference. So
well, it's
that's
kind of referring more to Notre Dame, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking some time to hop on with
Hold
us,
on,
Nicole.
Nicole. Check out Nicole hosting on Peacock too. She's doing some hosting duties as
I
well.
saw it.
Killing
Yes.
it there.
Yeah, it was awesome.
They have kicked Maria Taylor off the desk
That
to
is
give
not
Nicole
true.
reps.
That is not true. But I will be doing that. I will be doing the Peacock halftime for Central Michigan, Illinois this weekend.
Let's
So,
go.
Let's
where am I Illini?
go. Bert
Mhm.
Bielema, let's go. Get some. Nicole, thank you. Always appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys. And
Thanks, Nicole.
Roddy, passport now. Passport.
Okay.
Yeah, if you work on it
I
now,
still don't
Roddy.
even pack until day of, Nicole. Like I got better at that, and then my last trip, I'm throwing stuff in the bag, and literally every time it happens, I'm like, Nicole would be so disappointed in me.
I'm thinking about it and being disappointed in you. All right. Bye, guys.
See ya.
That's our friend Nicole Auerbach. Does a great job with NBC Sports, and that was good stuff on Notre Dame. That was good stuff
it was.
on Michigan.
Trip. Also, your question kind of hit home. Your boy's been doing this for a minute too. I mean, what was my first year doing this? 15? I think it was 2015 or 16.
So I don't know I don't know the exact origin story, Roddy. I just every summer I check my phone daily, waiting for you to call to be like, "Hey, bruh, I can't hang out with y'all anymore because I got the call up.
Get out of here.
Because I got the call up. I'm on the show."
You're gonna have to
But
kick me
yes,
out of this place.
Did we bring Nicole through the CSN family? Absolutely.
Yep.
Is Roddy on his way through upwards and outwards the CSN family one day? Probably.
Nope.
Probably. But we appreciate him kicking it with us here on this silly little show.
Just glad
that we
Wes
do.
Durham created a spot for your boy.
Yeah. Wes was like,
Primetime-
"Hey,
ACC primetime voice.
boy, bye." That's what Wes said. Love you, Wes. All right. Speaking of our silly show, we've got the what do we got? The stock update, stock doctor, lock doctor, doc of locks.
Doc.
It's a lot of alliteration and rhyming. You
The
want to
stock
go
doctor
through?
report. Why can't you just? I mean, you're not taking it seriously.
I am taking it seriously because you've got Nebraska on here, and I'm all in on Nebraska. I have been for years. They burned
Wait,
me a lot.
Why is UNLV on this list? And
They're
Florida
the
State
last.
Trip, just go for it, Trip, because I'm very confused.
Yeah, feed me your takes. Let's go.
All right, you want to buy low so you can sell high, right?
Okay.
Correct.
We're buying UNLV right now. Quarterback Sluka, he can play. Almost put up 700 yards of offense last week. I know it was Utah Tech. Doesn't matter. Still 700 yards.
If you can tell me
Now
where Utah
they're-
Tech is, I'll put some stock in this.
Utah.
It's Salt Lake
Duh.
City.
Is it
I don't know. I just took a guess.
St. George,
But,
Utah?
hey, now the
guess, though.
20-point win over Houston now looks a little bit better, right? After the
That's a good
Cougars
point.
hung around all night at Oklahoma last week.
Good point.
You're getting 7 to 7.5 points this upcoming week against Kansas. I'm all over UNLV right now. And I mean, honestly, looking ahead, this week will probably be the only time they're not favored in a game until the Boise State game, and they get Boise at home. So I'd be buying
Hang on.
UNLV. Right
UNLV hosts Syracuse in a couple weeks, man. They will be underdogs against the Orange.
Another one. You were just talking about Syracuse. Pump your brakes on Syracuse, man. UNLV
Wow.
wins that game outright. We can put
you
a
know
bet
what?
on it right now. We can put a bet on it.
Get
right now.
out of here! Get out of here with that lock of docs.
We can put a bet on it right now. All right, the next one. The next team I want to talk about is NC State. Buy them. Like, when are you ever going to get them cheaper than this? The
2 weeks
entire
from now.
After the
season
Clemson
is
game?
Still, hang on. The entire season still ahead of the Wolfpack. All their goals still completely attainable. Cupcake on deck. Then they do have to go to Clemson on the 21st. That'll obviously be a tough game. But if they can somehow get past that, and after Clemson, Northern Illinois, which, you know, we all know what happened last weekend.
It's the Dave Dorn Bowl.
Navigate those two teams, they would still have a great shot at getting back to Charlotte.
Let me ask you a question,
know,
Roddy.
man.
If
Go
if
ahead.
if
I don't
if
know.
NC State goes 8-4 again, like, are we in a situation where they're like, hey, we can't keep doing this with Dave Dorn? Like, I know I'm not rooting for anybody to get
No,
fired.
I
I'm
don't
just
think so.
asking. Okay.
No, I think people will be a little annoyed, but this is like the peak of what this program has been. So sure, you can get tired of reaching your ceiling, but to expect that someone will come in and bust through that ceiling is ignoring the history of this program. So I think you could have people who get tired of it, but I would imagine and guess and honestly wager that whoever they went and found to bring in would not do any better than what Dave Dorn has done.
Okay. Just asking. Just out here asking.
Also, Trip, like NC State's schedule, which once looked very favorable, doesn't look like that anymore based on how they played. They're at Clemson. Wake lost to Virginia at home, so I put that. But like Syracuse, at Cal, Georgia Tech, late in the year, North Carolina. They owned Carolina the last 3 years. So, but I don't know, man. Like,
This also includes a take from the first 2 weeks because Western Carolina, I told everybody about this before the game happened. Western Carolina was a lock. I mean, that was a total look-ahead spot for NC State going
What
into
was
the
last week?
Tennessee game. I'm about to get to Tennessee to
Okay.
tell you what I think about those guys. But the next team on the list is Florida State. Again, when are you ever going to get them this cheap? They're like a penny stock right now. This is like Leo DiCaprio, Wolf of Wall Street. You know, that phone call he makes at the little penny stock store. They're -6.5 at home against Memphis.
that's dangerous.
Obviously, they've got to win. Yeah, they've still got to win it. But after that, they get Cal,
Dangerous.
Road trip to SMU, which looks a lot better now. If Norvell can just get the run game going a little bit, if he can get anything out of a defense that was supposed to be pretty good and should still have some NFL guys on it, maybe they can get the season off life support for a couple of weeks. It's a short.
So just to clarify, Trip, you are in
I am
on Florida State this
right
weekend.
now. And again, it's a short-term buy. You got to look the market.
That sounds irresponsible to me. Like, I
Does sound
understand the buy
irresponsible.
low, sell high thing, but like that
If
sounds
you wanna
risky.
buy low, you can't buy lower than Florida State is
You,
right now.
if they
And
lose
Florida
this game,
State's
then you
got
could buy
3
lower.
teams. Yeah, that's true. You could buy them a little lower next week.
If they lose to Mike Norvell's former team,
Actually,
then yes, in
but
fact,
how
And his
you
much
former
can.
cheaper
assistant.
would they be? If they're already a penny stock, how much cheaper can they be?
Well, they go. What's they go? You go bankrupt,
just
right?
gonna
You get
give them
negative
away.
equity.
Yeah,
you
they
get a
just go-
complete
they-
sell off.
Yeah, you get a complete sell-off, I guess. But the next team on the list is Tennessee, and I think I want to just make an early prediction. I think they're the best team I've seen this year. They're doing just whatever they want on offense, and even though they're expensive, I think they're still underpriced. And I think it's a joke that they're still behind 6 other teams in any kind of ranking, because right now, straight up, I would take them to beat anybody.
Can I ask a question? My hand's raised.
No.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
You think Tennessee is one of the top 2 teams in the SEC?
Are you talking to me or Roddy?
You, Lock Doctor. You said they're the best team you've seen through 2 weeks, so you think they're one of the best
They're
teams in the
most
SEC?
impressive team. I'm telling you right now, this would be, and I think if they played Georgia on a neutral field, I would take Tennessee straight up.
No.
Trip. That sounds reckless, man. That sounds.
It might sound reckless now. It's going to sound like genius here in a few weeks, but
Well, here's the
I've
thing:
s-
they don't play on a neutral field. They have to play in Athens, and
We saw
Tennessee
how
will
that
be a
thing went
double.
last time.
Tennessee will be a double-digit underdog in that game.
Yeah.
Double
I like
digit.
Tennessee. I'll take Tennessee in any point you'll give me.
Interesting. Interesting.
Wow.
That feels
I
like an
told you.
overreaction trip.
It does. I mean, now that I'm saying it out loud, and with other people around me, it sounds like an overreaction. But I'm going to stick with it because I told you guys last week when Tennessee made honorable mention on the Stock Doctor report that it was like the 2015 Duke basketball team. Like, I know they played a cupcake in the opening game, but I could just see something brilliant about the team. And I think Nico is kind of like the Tyus Jones. What other show that you can listen to is going to have Nico as Tyus Jones? Get in reference.
I mean, I
can
think
only
you,
get
Probably
right.
nobody.
I think you've
Nico's
got that
taller
market
than Tyus
cornered.
Jones.
Yes, I think you've got that market cornered. By the
How
way,
tall is Tyus Jones?
One last team on the report this week is Nebraska. I'm out. I'm selling. And I know that everybody wants to give them their flowers right now, but 1/2 isn't going to cut it. Like, how do you not score in the second half of that game?
They put it
By
in
the way,
neutral.
Illinois on, I think that's a Friday night game here in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a tough game. But if you want to keep up with the best teams in your conference, like Ohio State, USC, and the newest offensive juggernaut in college football, Iowa, you got to be able to finish.
Iowa lost.
Yeah, but they're an over team now.
They
Sorry,
lost
that's
by
what
one.
that was done. Yeah, they're an over team, 2-0 now.
2-0 on overs. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point.
I'm going to be taking in a little football game of my. That was very good, Trip. Thank you for the stock report there.
Are we
you know,
keeping track of this? We have to keep track of these.
I keep track of all this stuff. I'm keeping
Okay,
track of all
I
this
just
stuff.
we just have to keep track of his stock because he's buying and he's selling, and we
Okay,
gotta monitor these stocks to see
Yeah,
if
I'm gonna.
if
I'll
it's-
label it
At
too.
this point, I would like to sit down with my financial planner and just let them know I am not this risk averse. Okay, I don't want to be exposed to the level where Trip's like, yeah, I got UNLV beating Syracuse. Yeah, I got Tennessee beating Georgia on a
UNLV
neutral field.
you want to compare UNLV to a stock right now? UNLV is Kava. Do you know the whole
God.
Chipotle story? Like you could have got Chipotle for $40 years ago. Now it's trading
Roddy.
over like $3,000 a share. Kava, and this is look, I'm gonna retire off Kava stock if it keeps going the way it's going. $44 where I bought it right now. It's $120 a share. I pick winners.
Yeah, but you only
everywhere I
got
go.
2 shares. You only got 2 shares of the that's the thing. I mean, you need more than 2 shares of Kava stock if you want to retire. In the
Also, you
meantime,
need to have not lost on any other stock.
in the meantime, I still need you here on CSN, Doctor.
Yeah,
Are you
but
a
if
Kava
things
guy,
keep going-
Roddy?
Love Kava.
6-0,
Love Kava
good.
over
If things
Chipotle.
keep
at this
going the way
point.
they're going, I'll be able to buy a couple. I might.
Although
have
it's not
5
my-
shares by the end of
it's-
the season.
It's not my favorite of that version of restaurant now. Like,
Go on. Go on.
when I'm in like the Virginia area,
Starting
Roots
bad
is
mouthing Kava.
phenomenal. Like,
Roots is good. Can I interest you in Yamas?
I've never had Yamas.
Ooh.
Yamas.
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 You might want to look into this.
Where is
I think.
it?
Well, we have one downtown in Winston-Salem. They are around. Okay, they're starting to spread out. I think now, Trip. You tell me if this is a bad take. For me, Yamas greater than signed Kava for food.
Okay.
I'm not talking about their stock value.
I don't
Look, Kava's
wanna
very
do
good.
anything
Kava's
that
upper
would-
echelon.
would
Chipotle is the
mess
one that we're
up with
poo-pooing on right now.
Kava.
Chipotle sucks.
Yeah.
Dude, Chipotle, like people don't understand, man.
stock
Chipotle
doesn't.
in 2005,
It was
like
the
it's like
yeah,
it's like the
different.
Vince
Like,
McMahon clip where
05
he's
to like 14. Like,
it was
Chipotle
it was
undefeated.
incredible.
Yeah,
But you know, it's tough these days, man.
Now
It's like
it's
I've been
last
telling people
chance
about
you.
Chick-fil-A. I still go to Chick-fil-A because I have 2 kids. Okay,
Don't do it.
them sandwiches getting smaller, dude. You can't tell me those sandwiches
It depends
are as
where you
big
go.
as they used
There's-
to be. Ain't
think
no
it depends
way,
where you
Roddy
go.
Jones.
Because I've gotten some pretty hefty. Well, I don't get Chick-fil-A sandwiches often, but I've gotten some pretty sizable breasts on those sandwiches.
Okay, let's move on. I will be taking in a college football game of my own this weekend, and we will get to
You go-
very shortly
Wait,
where in the
Ole Miss
world
Wake?
Roddy Jones is. Your boy is he's hanging out with the fine folks of Deektown on Saturday night.
oh,
Ole Miss at Wake Forest, live on your television, courtesy of our friends at the CW.
Dub.
6:30 kick. Got the tailgate pass. Got the tickets. Taking the whole family. In fact, they're going to go tailgate before your boy gets off of work because that blitz shift doesn't end until 6. So
Wow.
they'll be down there living the good life. I am excited to see Ole Miss. Am I excited to see Wake Forest? No, not particularly because they just lost at home to UVA. Coughed up a 2-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter. You
Oh.
hate to see it.
I hate to see it.
Ole Miss is a 23-point favorite Saturday. It's not enough. It's not enough.
How is it only 23? I hadn't seen
You tell
that.
me.
That
At
doesn't
some
make any
point,
sense at all.
Because one does not simply stroll into a Legacy Federal Credit Union Stadium
That
in
just-
Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
It just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Used to be Truist Field. That I could get behind. Short and to the
Used
point.
to be BB&T. Like, can we
Used
go
to
back
be.
to the point? Can we go back to the original?
You ain't wrong, brother. But look, I understand the odds makers. They want to make this so that there's 50-50 split.
23?
Ole Miss, Wake. But 23.5 points, Ole Miss coming into town laying. And I
What time
got to
is
be
that game
honest,
starting?
man. Like, it's going to be 31-3 at halftime. Like, it's going to get out of hand. I'll ask Phil Steele. He's our national guy. He comes on the show Wednesdays with Wayne. I'll get his thoughts. But I'm not seeing it. I'm really not.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either, to be honest with you.
Where in
Not
the world
seeing
is Roddy Jones this week?
Do you want to guess?
Yes, if you have hints, because I didn't guess very well last week.
No, you didn't. I don't really have great hints. Team coming off a big win, SEC country. One of the coolest live mascots in the world.
It's not Georgia, Kentucky.
Nope.
One of the LSU, South Carolina at noon.
No. Which one? Oh, South Carolina is coming off a big win, and they do have a cool live mascot. So does LSU.
Yeah, they got a
bigger
rooster.
spread, massive spread for this game. Massive spread for this game.
Trip, am I missing something obvious here? Come on, buddy. I mean, what do you? I mean, you've got your pulse on college football. Hang on, you're
Team
gonna make
that
me go to the
rose in the
schedule.
Yeah, but I don't have
polls.
my poll somewhere. Roddy's
not
Everyone's
Alabama, Wisconsin.
everyone's darling this week.
Everyone's darling.
Biggest win of the week
Oh.
last week.
Oh, you're going to Austin.
I'm going to Austin. Yeah,
Oh,
we got
wow.
UTSA, Texas.
Hang on, I got to bang a 30 here. You're coming
Yep.
off a trip to Tempe. You had never been to Tempe before.
Correct.
Have you ever been to Austin?
Not and spent a lot of time. I've been through Austin once or twice, and my wife is from New Braunfels, which is on the corridor in between San Antonio and Austin. So I've spent more time in San Antonio than Austin, but I have been to Austin kind of.
Okay,
Never liked through.
you need to stay away from 6th Street.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
I got a feeling you're going to just like stroll through there on Friday just to see what's popping. Like just
I mean, you
need
did warn me about the scenery in Tempe last
was I
week.
wrong?
You were not, although it's really hard to find people during the day.
Yeah,
There
because
are-
they're not outside. They will disintegrate.
They don't
Bro,
know.
it is a ghost town until like 8:00, and then like when you shut the lights off and the roaches come out, and then the lights come on and everybody scatters. Like, bro, the streets are empty. I mean, there's cars, but like you don't see anybody outside until like 8:00.
Okay, so a little UTSA at Texas. Roddy Jones special this week.
Yeah, big line, 34.5. I believe Texas is favored by. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to do. You know, hopefully UTSA can make it a game
They got
for at least
rolled
yeah,
against
by
Texas State on Saturday.
Yeah, so we're not real optimistic, but we'll celebrate what that program has been the last few seasons,
As you should.
while recognizing it's not that this year. Josh McCown's son, I believe, is the quarterback of that team.
Larry Coker's not walking through that door anytime soon.
Dude,
Roadrunner
they don't
fans.
need Larry. They don't need Larry Coker. They just need to get back to where they were the last 3 years, where they won 10, 11, and 9 games.
Yeah, it's a proud program. I understand.
Yeah, so you know, it'll probably be Texas heavy unless Texas sleeps through it, but it'll be fun to sort of, we're primetime on ESPN, so that'll be a cool thing. And
Roddy, that's your life now, dude. You are. I mean, I should start calling you prime time. Forget Dion.
no, not here, but
Prime time.
We'll celebrate Texas some, and we'll have fun with Quinn Ewers, and then if it gets out of hand, we'll have fun with Arch Manning, and we'll do some fun stuff.
Speaking of prime time, how does it feel to be a part of the one Colorado win this football season? How does that make you feel? Okay,
Bro,
that thing is about
I
the
was-
crater.
I was so we don't in this business, you know how it is, dude. Like you don't root for specific teams.
I
and
do.
Successes.
I
Okay.
root for Sam Pittman, and
I
that
root
hurt
for-
me on Saturday.
Yeah, it's fair. But you root for people. Like you don't root for Arkansas. You root for Sam Pittman.
That's right.
Like I also have people that I like more than others, and I root for. But then you also kind of root for like what's best for me. Like what's best for me going forward. And like I'll say our crew too, but mainly like I think had Colorado continued to win a little bit, we may have been on the Colorado train for a decent chunk of the season, our crew, because of logistics and all this other stuff. But Colorado losing is not unexpected at all, but it would have been fun to ride that train for a little bit longer. And
Colorado games are about to be on FS2 standard definition.
Bro, you ain't lying. The disappointing thing about what's going on there is it's predictably, seemingly falling apart in the way that we thought it could, based on the structure of that program. Like Shador calling out his offensive line after the game,
Can't do it.
it's fairly predictable. And like I think in his mind, he's like, well, it can't get any worse. I've been getting blasted the last 2 years. And the answer to that is like, yeah, those dudes can stop trying. Like they're trying now. Nobody, again, Nicole and I, we did a show together on SiriusXM, and Jeff Schwartz was on with us. And Jeff was like those guys are not trying to be bad. And they go back and watch the film. They know they're bad. You don't have to tell them that in the public. Like you don't have to call them out like that. And I'm not saying that they're just going to be like, well, F you, Shador, I'm not playing. But like maybe there's a piece of that in there where it's like, I don't want to play for that. Like we always talk about guys you want to play for, you want to try harder for.
Right.
When you call out a guy, it's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna do my job, but like, I'm not great at it anyway. And he's saying I suck. So like, why would I help him go be a millionaire more when he's driving around and he's got 5 different cars and he's got a $100,000 watch and he's on commercials and like he's saying that I suck, man. Bump this. Like, how does that play in the locker room? And that program, unfortunately, has sort of felt like Deion's persona and personality is one of showmanship. It's a very me type personality, and it's always been like that. But he was a corner, and so he could be sort of showy and about himself and still go out and play hard and within the structure of the team. But he was so talented that like often him playing hard, what was best for the team was outside of the structure of what would normally be good for a team. It's like, Deion, you go out there and lock down that, and then we'll play over here. So it was sort of an isolated thing. Like, you can't operate that as a coach. And it's felt like they've tried to thread a needle of the program and the quarterback and the star players being Deion-esque. But then you have to tell the rest of the program, like, but you guys have to be about the team. And I think Travis Hunter is about the team but right now, and for his entire college career, Travis Hunter's individual interests have aligned with what's best for the team. Him playing both ways, him pushing guys, not pushing, but like him saying like, no, coach, like I'm in this play. It's been best for the team. But when you're the other guys, like, how does that perceived? I don't know, even though he is a superstar. And the discrepancy, I would imagine the discrepancy of net worth of players is greater on Colorado's team than it is any other team in the country. So they get sort of the exaggerated version of the NIL problems that a lot of people have.
Right. Yeah, no, that's all well said. I'm not overreacting to the Nebraska game.
No, dude.
I'm
we saw it
looking at
against
the
North Dakota
schedule.
State, and we mentioned it like, hey, look, there's a little too much pressure. Like, hey, look, they can't get a 4th and 1. I mean, hey, look, they kind of blew the end of that game and gave North Dakota State a shot. There were a lot of signs, but they won. So you celebrate the win and you celebrate the environment and all that while mentioning that stuff.
Yeah.
And then they go to Nebraska and like all of those things show up, and they didn't even try to run the ball at the end. So there's no balance. They don't have a tight end that's any good. Like, their offensive line's not great. So
what's the trip? Maybe you already know this. What's the line for Colorado at Colorado State Saturday? We can look this up in real time. Buffs are a 7.5 point favorite.
Yeah. You don't think so?
No.
Well, the thing is, and the thing that I'm not sure of because of I haven't watched Colorado State Texas yet.
The game went triple overtime last year. Like, Colorado State, they're not intimidated. This game's in Fort Collins.
Yeah, but like if Colorado State doesn't have pass rushers, then Colorado will be fine because their skill is elite. Like their receivers, that is an elite group of receivers with an elite quarterback. But it's a JV offensive line. And no, like that sounds very offensive. And I'm not meaning to, but the way that they have played is not going to allow them to win. But if you are a North Dakota State or potentially a Colorado State, and you don't have the pass rushers that can give Shedeur issues like 3 plays out of 4, that was sort of where Nebraska was, maybe half the time. Like every other play, he's getting harassed. If he can be upright, again, like 3/4 of the time, their skill's elite enough to take care of business. And their defensive line is improved. And their defense is improved from a year ago. That's the thing that's sort of gone under the radar. That defense is better. It's not elite, but it is better. So I would be careful jumping all in on Colorado State.
I'm not all in, but I'm intrigued. Speaking of picks, you Rodstradamus, want to make some selections before we get out of here?
Hell yeah.
Before we do, a quick shout out to our friends at the Varsity app. If you don't already have it, you should probably look into that very quickly. It's free. It's available on the Apple Store and Google Play. You can download podcasts. You can listen to coaches' shows. You search for your favorite team, and you can listen to broadcasts regardless of where you are. So if you're if you're Trip and you're a Florida State fan, actually that's a bad example. If you're me and you're a Florida fan and you're living in North Carolina and you want to listen to the Gators, Varsity app, that's the play. No, you're good. And you can listen to the Blitz, obviously, which Roddy does all the time. He just won't admit it.
I did. I listened to the Blitz a lot on Saturday.
Sounds clean, doesn't it?
Why don't you give us? It sounds very clean because the doctor's on the ones and twos. He's mixing that thing in real time. Why don't you give us a shout out on Twitter, man? Why don't you give us a little love? Appreciate that.
The thing that I love the most is that it's like, hey, let's go out to X team and something. Larry, we can't do nothing with them on offense. They just on the right hash. Can't believe it. I love that.
We got a few of them.
Much.
Yeah,
I love it so much.
We got a few of them.
It's so good. It's so good.
And then, Roddy, you've done radio. Like, you know how there's a couple of schools where, the combined age in that broadcast booth is 165 years old.
It's great.
Two guys.
It's so good. Bob, I remember in 1976 when we went to Fort Collins, and I couldn't believe it. This is going to feel similar to me as we go on down the field.
That's correct.
So good.
Yeah, it's a real thing. So check out the Varsity app. Again, it's free, and we're trying to change your life so that if you're the type of person that has stuff to do on Saturdays, you can just listen on the go. So that being said, Varsity app read done. You're coming off of an 8-3 week. Solid slate of games last week. You missed on Utah. You had it though. Back door was open against Baylor. Cy-Hawk rivalry under. Totally understandable.
I'll take that L.
It bit the doctor too. And then Kansas -6, probably your lone bad selection.
That was bad.
Illinois just kind of manhandled them. So, week 3, I should say for the season, you are back above 500. 12 wins, 11 losses so far for Rodstradamus. Not bad.
I've got a whole dozen written down right now.
You got a dirty dozen?
I think there's some lines here that are pretty tasty. Pretty tasty.
If I know you, we're going to start on Thursday night, right? Because you like to. Like to wet your beak.
I didn't even go to wanting the action on all the nights. Yeah, let's go to Thursday night. Golly, Arizona State minus. What is it? What do you guys have that as? -2? I want to stay away from this one. Golly, I want to stay away, but I can't because I gotta have action on every. I'll go Arizona State minus the points.
Wow, I feel like that's the wrong side, but okay.
I'll believe in Kenny Dillingham and them boys. Cam Scattaboo.
It's not. It looks like Scattaboo, but it's Scattaboo.
Yeah.
That dude can go, man. He can scoot.
Yeah, Scattaboo can goo. Friday, UNLV. We'll go to the ranked matchup. I'll go Arizona State plus the points. Arizona. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. We'll go both Arizona schools. Arizona State on Thursday, Arizona on Friday.
That will be a good game on Friday night. I know you don't like to give shout-outs to games on Fox, but that'll be a good one Friday night.
Give a shout-out to games on Fox. I don't care, man. I don't care. You think Kansas is a lock? Oh, you think UNLV is the lock. Bro, I'm not doing that. Get out of here. I'm lay off that drug. UNLV. Get out of here.
You want a drug to lay off of? Lay off of Sunday, okay? Lay off of that. Because guess what? New year, same stuff.
Same flackens.
Same stuff.
All flackens. Can't believe it. Kirk
Put
Cousins.
in Penix, man. Let's play Penix now. What are we waiting on? The guy's going to be 30 next year. Let's just play him now. Anyway.
Paying Cousins $40 million a year. Can't do it.
I'm aware. Yeah, guy's got a 9-figure salary. What else you got?
Let's go to Saturday. Give me LSU minus the points at South Carolina.
That's a chunky number, man. I think it's right around a touchdown.
7.
7.
It's a tutty. I'll take LSU there. I think the overreaction on South Carolina is a little much. The rotating door at quarterback for Kentucky, I feel like, is catching up with them. Like you can't Devin Leary to Brock Vandegrift this thing. What are we doing? Although South Carolina did lay it on them.
Kentucky looked terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
I think Kentucky might be, number 16 in that league right now. Vandy.
I'm not ready to go. I'm not ready to go that far. They're not number 16. I think you saw
Who's
number
16. Vandy?
I think you saw them on Saturday.
Oh, Mississippi State. Yeah. Mississippi State's gonna have a tough time. That's a good point. I like Jeff Lebby too, man. Rooting for him.
Dude, Jeff Lebby walked into my interview room at Media Days, and I thought he was a player.
He does look young. He's got a great energy, though. I'm really rooting for him. I like that staff, too. And talking to a couple of those guys on the sideline. I like him.
I was like, you're not Blake Shapen. Oh, you're the coach. Oh, okay. What's up,
yes,
young blood?
he looks like He's 40, but he looks younger than that. He's got a baby face.
Yeah.
Former offensive lineman. He's got the body where you're like, yeah, I could see it, but you wouldn't guess he was an offensive lineman in the past. All right, let's go to Madison. Alabama minus the points.
Roll Tide.
Roll
This
Tide.
is more of an
roll.
anti-Wisconsin play, though, isn't it? Than it is. Like,
I don't think Wisconsin can score.
Right.
That's sort of the deal, man. Like they put up 27 and 28 against teams where they should be rolling up a lot more. Alabama's gonna be a much bigger issue.
Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke is gonna have a.
GVD.
He's gonna struggle against that defense on Saturday. Yeah. I agree.
I'll take Tulsa plus the points too.
Tulsa getting 20 at home against Oklahoma State.
I'll take Tulsa plus the points.
In a game that kicks at 11 a.m. local time. I see where you're going here. I don't hate it. I don't hate that.
A little hangover action.
Oklahoma State should be 1-1.
Absolutely. Arkansas had 640 yards of offense and lost the game.
Dude, Taylor Green's the truth.
Game.
That guy, he short-armed a couple throws late in that game. Like, I think he got a little tight, but that dude can scoot. Like, he's very good, but Arkansas just...
there's a team there's been all of these kind of are overreaction bets. Like I feel like the LSU -7, like I feel like that's sort of an overreaction of what South Carolina just did. They got game day coming to town too. Like South Carolina's not used to that. The other team that I feel that blew it over the weekend that I feel like there's been from a Vegas standpoint a bit of an overreaction to is Cincinnati. Cincinnati's only a 2.5 point favorite at Miami of Ohio. Give me Cincinnati minus the 2.5 at Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio ain't good.
Loss.
It is a bad loss. They did choke that game away to Pitt, but like 2.5, come on,
like that's a great.
They'll be
spot,
fine.
man.
They'll be fine. They'll be fine against Miami of Ohio. Notre Dame's going to Purdue, and Purdue is a 10.5 point dog. Give me the Boilermakers. Purdue's coming off a bye week. The rare week 2 bye week with Notre Dame coming to town.
This is a pass for me, but I'm rooting for you, Roddy. Like I want you to succeed.
About? Oh man, Purdue's gonna come out angry. And you do not simply stroll. Tell him, Hartzell, you don't simply stroll into West Lafayette.
Yeah, one does not just stroll into Ross-Ade Stadium.
Thank you.
Where they got that big drum.
World's largest drum. You better give that drum its proper due.
I don't love this pick. I'm just saying I don't love this pick. I like a lot of the other ones that you've given us. I don't love this one.
Okay. Where is this game? I've got Virginia Tech written down, but I don't know who they're playing or the line right now.
Virginia boy,
at Old Dirty.
You're going back to Norfolk? You're going back? You
14,
didn't learn your lesson?
14 point. What do you mean learn my lesson? I haven't been to Norfolk in a minute.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the Hokies.
Oh yeah. That's bad. But I'll take Virginia Tech minus the points.
Oh man.
At Old Dirty Minion.
Place is going to be upside down, man.
Yeah, 14.
No, it's not. With Hokie fans, ain't enough Monarchs around to fill that place.
What did Virginia Tech do against Marshall last week? I know they won.
I like Ricky Ronnie.
I'm looking.
It was a comfortable win.
Was it comfortable?
Win.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was very comfortable.
It was
31-14. But it was a blowout, or it was it was 10-7 at halftime, and then they blew them out in the second half.
Didn't cover 31-14. Didn't cover.
Virginia
Tech is 0-2 ATS, and you think they're going to get it done as a double-digit underdog at Old Dirty?
That's a great point.
They did cover, didn't they?
No, it was 20 and a
It was
half.
like a 20-point spread against the Herd.
20 and a half. Oh, yeah,
Roddy thinks the Hokies get right.
Yeah, I think the Hokies get right. My boy Brent Pry. Brent Pry. The other school in the state of Virginia is a dog at home to Maryland. I'll go with the Cavaliers. Give me the Cavaliers.
Okay? Scott Stadium at night. Say less. I mean, you don't have to sell me on that.
Give them to me.
Impressive week for Maryland last week.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't lose at home to Sparty.
Jesus.
No.
Can't happen.
No, you can't. I got a couple more for you. And I don't know that I want to take all of this. So you guys let me know how you feel. Ole Miss minus the points. Don't care what the spread is.
I like Dave Clawson. I take hot yoga classes in Dave Clawson's presence, so he may listen to the show, but I think that's the right side here.
I don't think he
line,
listens.
Though, man, 20.
Is it fishy? What's fishy about it?
Why is it not 43? That's what's fishy about it.
Because
If
they
it
would need
was 43,
somebody.
Would you pump your brakes at all? If
Yes,
Ole Miss was
yes,
laying
I would pump
43.
my brakes. Yes, Trip.
Yeah.
Again, you're so risk averse, man. I feel like I need to call the SEC, not the Southeastern Conference, the Securities and Exchange Commission on you.
Well,
Aggressive.
MCO. So if you think I'm cheating, then I
Well,
understand.
I feel like
But
now's the time to sell, frankly. But anyway, we'll get to that on Friday. You like Ole Miss here,
I do.
okay?
I like Tulane plus the points at Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's a lot of points. It's 2 tutties.
It is a couple of tugs, a couple of tuggles. And Oklahoma hasn't quite figured it out on offense. John Summerall's crew coming off a tough loss. Can they rebound? We'll see.
Very
Let me
impressed
know
with young Darian Mensah, by the way.
Yeah. Darian Mintz is he wasn't the starting quarterback until like the third scrimmage in preseason camp. They figured out that they had something in that dude. How do you feel about BYU going to Laramie? Because getting 10 in Laramie, I kind of like the Cougs.
I just watched Wyoming lose at home to an FCS team.
Give me the Cougs going on the
BYU's
road.
a 10-point favorite, though. BYU's a
they're
10-point
10.5
favorite, not a
favorite.
dog.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Did I say dog?
Yeah.
I meant favorite. Yeah.
Okay.
I like the Cougs. I like the Cougs there.
Okay.
And then the
You know
other
that,
one
you know
that
that
I like,
BYU
and I'm
has a
not gonna say-
Jewish quarterback, right? Did you know
Yes,
that?
first one in their history.
Jake Retzlaff.
2 years in a row, BYU's got a first. Last year, it was the first black quarterback in their history. This year, it's the first Jewish quarterback in their history. Look at the inclusivity of BYU.
You love to see it. You really do.
You'll love to see it. Also, we got to keep them relevant, so McAfee keeps making Mormon and soaking jokes on College Game Day.
I don't watch College Game Day with the audio on. That's where we are with that show. That show has fallen so far. It's not just because of Pat McAfee. I know that Pat McAfee brings eyeballs to the network. And Roddy, I don't want to get you in trouble because you work for Disney, but College Game Day is a shell of what it once was, and it's tough. It's tough to see,
I
frankly.
think College Game Day is the premier pregame show in the entire country, and we will continue to support it with our eyeballs and our patronage.
Very good.
The last one that I like, I'm not going to go here, but I like it. San Diego State plus the points at Cal. I don't want it on the board. I'm not going to put it there. I don't feel that confident in them. Tripp is shaking his head, but real letdown spot. Letdown look ahead for Cal. Coming off of Auburn, looking ahead to Florida State.
See, I love it. Hey, we're still a look ahead game. I'll take
Absolutely.
it. That's
They're
all
going to
I got.
Tallahassee to open ACC play.
We can still be somebody's look ahead game.
Dude, if Jaden Ott is healthy when they go to Tallahassee, that will be a problem for the Noles.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's not healthy right now. I don't know what his deal
Yeah,
is,
if
but
he's got one leg, it could still be a problem.
I'm here for Cal,
Fernando-
man. I'm
Fernando Mendoza was very good on the road against Auburn.
he was
impressed by him.
amazing. The guy was like 13 of 13 open the game. He's dropping
Yeah,
it
I was
in
very
buckets.
Yeah. But I think this is a test. It's a real test for them. This is one of those you could look up in the third quarter and you got like a 3-point lead and you're like, what the hell is happening? What are we doing?
But to clarify, you don't want the Aztecs here. You're just intrigued.
You know what? Put them on there. Put it on there.
Wow. San Diego State. I mean, that's a little late night action for our boy
Yeah.
here. 10:30 Eastern kick.
Yeah. Thank God I'm not doing that game. We didn't talk about this. We talked
Did
a
you
little bit
make the
about how the
birthday?
birthday was. We did make the birthday. Yeah. For anybody who was wondering, we made the birthday.
That's a big deal.
Red Eye, big deal. And like I was talking to Chris Budden about this, and she has had travel, crazy travel stuff before too. But it's things that our kids will never know that we did for them, and honestly, they shouldn't. Like I felt very much like, yes, this is an extreme thing that we're doing to get back for a kid's birthday party, but like it's what I'm supposed to do. Like it's just being a dad. So let's go, let's get it. Red Eye through Chicago, 2 hours in O'Hare, and then an early morning flight into Atlanta, or landed wheels on the ground around 10:50, got to the birthday party at about 11:45, 11:50. Birthday party started at noon. So your boy
That's amazing.
walked through the door. Hey, girls. Everybody's excited. All worth it. Then we roller skated our little asses off.
How good of a roller skater are you?
Very, like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't
Can
fall.
you skate backwards?
I can rollerblade backwards slowly. Not
Are
like
you out
super
there?
slow.
Are you out there like? Do you have sauce when you're out there roller skating? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, can
I
you
go for more
like?
speed than sauce,
Got
which is something my wife would probably say as well. But, you know, it's kind of who I am.
Very good. That's awesome. That amazing, amazing rad dad move by you.
No, dude,
jumping
it's not
through those hoops to get there.
not a rad dad move. It's just a dad move. Like, it's just what we do as dads. We get back for birthday parties. It's what we do.
Yes, but you made it but it's just assumed. Like, here's the thing about this: it's just a given. It's like, of course, Roddy made it to his girl's birthday, but that was all very like. If that game went to overtime, if there was a plane issue, like there were a lot of things that had to go right for you to
look,
be there.
We switched. We did our research. We switched from the direct flight that was going to put me in Atlanta around 6:30 a.m. We had to switch from that one to the later flight because it gave me 20 extra minutes to get there. There was about a quarter of a mile jog from the stadium to the hotel to get to the car because the way they've had issues in the past with people coming out of that particular part of the street with pedestrians, so they shut it down for everybody, like no exceptions. Got in the car, figured out a back road to get to the road that we needed to be in. So there's stuff that happened, but this is what we do after games, man. It really didn't feel a lot different than just making a normal flight. It's just we're making a red eye.
Is Mark Jones jogging with you? Are you guys in this together?
No.
Okay.
Mark was staying overnight. And honestly, like in a normal situation, I also would have stayed overnight until Sunday. But no, Mark waited at the truck until they could drive back to the hotel and then probably drove back to the hotel. But
it's a G move by you, man. Like, you give yourself a little bit more credit, man. It's not just like, yeah, of course we made it. It's like, no, man, we had to work for this. We had to grind behind the scenes.
We did work. We did grind. We planned the logistical stuff. But, bro, it's what we do as dads. You would have done the same thing.
Hey, to your point, I know very well. I mean, you have one extra person in your family, okay? You have 3 daughters. I've got 2 boys. I rank 4th by a considerable margin in my own household. So 100%. I know what it's like. You are a distant 5th. I get it.
Distant.
But still,
yep.
We make it happen because we have to.
Absolutely.
Folks, that's the show. Thanks to Nicole Auerbach from NBC Sports for joining us.
The one thing that I didn't ask you about as a Florida fan, like, are you DJ Lagway? Are you all in on Lagway?
We don't have to do this right now. No, we don't have to do this. I
want to do this.
The last time I gave a take on the Florida quarterback situation, that quarterback got knocked out of the game and has not seen the field since. So I will not be commenting on DJ Lagway at this time. Thank you very much for your concern.
Send Roddy the clip.
I don't need to send him the clip.
I want to know if you're all in on Lagway.
Yes, I probably am because there's nobody else. They're not gonna sniff 6 wins.
So you might as well go to Lagway.
Yes.
How much you paying Mertz to not? I'll tell you what, he drives a mean range.
I mean, good for him. Good for him. Like I
quiche to be sitting on the bench. Although Lagway's probably getting more. So
there has never been a better time in the history of college sports to be a student athlete. Okay, that is very real thing. Can I ask you a serious question? Serious question. I know we have to end the show. I know you want. We don't have to end the show. I can do this all day. I just figured you had stuff to do.
No. Well, I got a flight to catch in a little bit, but that's
okay. Very good. Why are you flying on a 2? Oh, I know where you're going.
I'm going to the mock selection committee, so we can talk about that next week. Rubbing shoulders with Captain, I think, Lieutenant Rich Grant. Rich Clark.
Never heard of him.
I got to get his name.
Who is that?
He was the former superintendent of the Air Force Academy. He's now the executive director of the College Football Playoff.
Well, thank you for your service. I still don't understand why they. You know what? I do know. We will save that for next week. Thank you. I will add it to the doc. Go ahead. What's your serious question?
If you're Billy Napier, and you know you're not going to get 6 wins, you probably will win 4 or 5. Your name's going to be thrown around on the hot seat. If you play DJ Lagway and he's very good for you, and then like you can walk to your administration and say, hey, look, guys, if you fire me, DJ Lagway probably leaves too, which is probably true. unless they just back up an absolute dump truck of money for him. But even then, like if you're DJ, everyone in the world will want you next year. Ohio State's gonna call.
Yeah.
Miami's gonna call.
Yeah.
You know, all of these schools. Alabama's gonna call. Florida State's gonna call. Like
Sure.
all of these schools that have great offenses are gonna call DJ Lagway in the offseason. So if you're Billy Napier, like, look, your best chance of keeping DJ Lagway is me. Does that save Billy Napier's job?
That very much depends on what happens when you play the likes of UCF, Kentucky, Tennessee. But all those games before you even get to the Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, LSU gauntlet in November.
Yeah. But if you're DJ Lagway, like, I feel like he has all of the power in this because
DJ does or Napier?
Let's no, down the stretch. Let's say if Lagway goes to the administration of the University of Florida, or his representation does, and says, hey, look, here's the deal. If Napier's out, we're out too. Now you got a real decision to make. Because Lagway can keep people there, or Lagway can signal a mass exodus when you have a player of that level of talent. I'm just saying, like, this is week 2. It's something to think about. We are in a player empowerment era. Sure. And I think if Lagway were to walk in there and say, Billy's gone, I'm gone, it could save Billy's job.
Okay.
Because you can't lose. That's the guy you can't lose. You can lose Billy Napier, it's fine. You can replace with somebody else. You ain't getting another Lagway. You are not. And they may not have another one for years if they make this move. And it's not the NFL where it's like wholly dependent on the quarterback. But when you got a dude like that, if he ends up continuing to progress like he looked last week and gets better, like, bro, he is a dude.
Talk about a game that I want. If you said, hey, Hartzell, here's $100. I want you to invest in Texas A&M at Florida. Aggies are laying 4. I would take that $100 and you would never see me again. I don't want any part of that game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Good luck trying to figure that out. Good luck.
Lagway plays. That was on the list of maybe dipping into. If Lagway plays, I think Texas A&M minus the points is probably the safe bet. But
Florida has A&M at Mississippi State, bye week, home to UCF, at Tennessee, home to Kentucky. If they're anything better than 4-3, then I think we have I think your argument, Roddy, there's a case to be made. But I could very well see them losing to Texas A&M, losing at Mississippi State. Lagway has to go on the road.
They shouldn't lose
land
to
of cowbells.
State,
they shouldn't.
But maybe.
They shouldn't. And then you've got a UCF team, which is like, you've already lost to Miami. You can't lose to UCF and Florida State. Don't get me started, man. Why? Like, I'm trying to wrap up the show. I'm thanking everybody. Now you want to come back over the top with some DJ Lagway talk, man.
I'm just asking the question. We are in a player in a player empowerment era, and I think Lagway is obviously the bright spot in that league, or excuse me, on that team. And he is a guy that literally everyone, like, there will be a handful of schools that won't call next year for DJ Lagway.
Because they can't afford him. Yes.
No,
correct.
Because they've got a Dylan Raiola. Like, that's the school. They've got an Arch Manning. Like, no, and honestly, here's the thing. Like, Texas might still call DJ. Hey, look, man, this Arch guy, we like him, but I mean,
If I'm Scott Strickland, I think you're weighing your options to be like, okay, I hear you. This is one option. The other option is I pull the cord now and I bring in
who?
Lane Kiffin,
No.
and we just reboot this thing right
You think
now.
Lane is Ole Miss is Florida a better job than Ole Miss? Historically, yes. Right now,
I don't know what the
Well,
NIL
Lane gets
situation
there,
at Florida
it
is,
turns
but I
into
would
a
think
better job.
I would think it is. Yes, resources wise, facilities wise, I think it is. It's not just about money. It's not just about money for the players.
I think you're overestimating the resources at Florida. I really do.
Bro, they
or
just
maybe
opened up-
underestimating.
They just opened up like the best facility in America, the football facility there.
Yeah. Okay. So their facility is newer, but in terms of resources, like
Money.
I think Ole Miss is on par. I would imagine.
Ole Miss has the NIL machine up and running. Okay, but this isn't just about paying players. You've got to pay your assistants. Like, you've got to have that pool that you can dip into to pay your staff.
Is Florida paying their assistants drastically more than Ole Miss is paying theirs now?
Don't know. Like, I would have to look into that for you. I think it's a great question.
they
Like,
would
I'd love
if
to
Lane
bring
Kiffin
somebody
was there.
on. I'm sorry?
Yeah.
I bet they would if Lane Kiffin was there.
I don't disagree, but I don't think it's a slam dunk that you're automatically can go get Lane Kiffin. I
agree. It's not. But if you're Scott
think so.
Strickland, like that's why you are in that position, because you've got
Especially
that list of names in your drawer that you've got ready to go.
And if I'm
when this thing
Lane, like the
craters.
expectations at Ole Miss are what they were, and I've turned it around. And here's the thing: I can make a call and get Florida's quarterback, which he probably can. Bro, why would I want to go to Florida?
Well, the doctor's already said that Urban is he's eyeing a return to Gainesville. That's where the doctor is on this. Which
Words on the
I
street.
mean I mean, look, man, maybe you bring Pete Carroll back to college. I don't know. But I think we're going to be in that boat in a couple weeks.
I think if you're Florida and you get there, like you're having to pay Billy Napier's buyout, you're having to pay obviously what it takes to get a new coach. And if you're going to keep DJ Lagway, you're going to have to pay him an obscene amount of money to stick through with a new coach, which might be worth it, might not. And I'm not saying he's going to be, the number one overall pick in the future.
Right.
But like if you had a number one overall pick in the future and he played his first start against an FCS team and you wanted him to look like anybody, you want him to look like that dude just looked.
You're not wrong, Roddy. You're not wrong. None of this is good, okay? Like, none of this is good. And, oh, by the way, your arch rival is, fully operational and probably should have won 3 straight national championships, but they stubbed their toe against Alabama, and they had to stop it too. So, don't get me started on this, man. Why you got to do this, man? Why you got to do this? All right. We're going to wrap up the show because I'll be here all day. All right, I'll break out in hives if I have to keep talking to Roddy about Florida's football program.
You got a show with Wayne later today.
Don't tell people that. They think that show's on Wednesday.
You say on the show that we're recording this Tuesday
Pulling back the
night.
curtain.
Well, we gotta wrap it up early tonight because we got the debate. I mean, I got to check in at 9:00 Eastern. I got to see what's going on there. All right.
Yeah, you do.
I just need to know. Okay. So, on that note, we are going to end the show. Thank you to Nicole Auerbach from NBC. Great to talk to her. Thanks to Roddy. Thanks to the Doc of Locks. I want Rodstradamus to stay hot. I mean, if we can get this thing cooking, we can get this thing up and running like another 8-9 win week. I want that for you. I really do.
Usually I come back down to earth after a hot week, but we'll see.
We'll see. We shall see. Thank you for listening out there. Check us out on Twitter at CSNowTweets. This show will be up on YouTube. You can find that as well. I'll post the link on the Twitter feed. Thanks to everybody for listening. We will talk to you guys on Wednesday. So long.